It is the end of day 7, and thus the end of my week with Soylent. I have about one more meal's worth in here. I was going to drink it, film it, and then talk a little bit about my week. This is still my peanut butter chocolate mix, which for some reason, I don't really know why, but it ended up kind of chunky, which none of my other ones have done. I've got a few chunks. I caught a few with my tongue and tried to figure out what they are. As far as consistency goes, they almost match peanut butter, but at the same time, it could just be chunks of like dry Soylent powder that stuck together. It's really weird because again, like I didn't get with anything else I did. I don't think I prepared this stuff different than any of my other preparations, so it's really hard to say. But it's something I was able to avoid in other ones. It's not overly unpleasant. It's just kind of odd. I haven't had any problems drinking it. It's disconcerting. It was definitely been an interesting week. As someone who, as I mentioned before, doesn't much care for deciding what to eat, making decisions and stuff, made a lot of stuff a lot easier. Also living in KI, I do a lot of shopping, and this obviously solving a lot of those problems for just a week, but still. A few things or things I'd recommend for anyone who's thinking about trying Soylent for themselves. Don't forget to drink water. The only really big mistake I would say that I made with my Soylent was day 1 forgetting to drink water, assuming that Soylent would provide enough water. It does not. I was incredibly dehydrated and pretty close to miserable at the very end of that first day. Also, maybe listen to that book and take some digestive stuff. I forget specifically what it recommended. It is in the book, and I have had pretty bad gas. Most of my bathroom use has been pretty regular, although I've been in there a lot more just because of my bad gas and expecting to poop instead of fart. Also, flavoring it works surprisingly well. The plain flavor was surprisingly good chunk. Surprisingly palatable. For someone who doesn't never really drink any sort of sports drink, bulk up drink, anything like that at all, I don't really have anything to compare it to. But outside of its texture, which is kind of dry or powdery or chalky at the end, it was surprisingly bland and pretty drinkable for just a day. I think it would get old really quick if you try to do that full time without any flavoring, especially if you're like me doing a full Soylent diet. If it was just like a supplement, even an every other day thing, you might be able to get away with it. Soylent, as I said, like worked pretty well for me. I feel great. I've been doing great. I think a lot of that does come from the fact that even outside of Soylent, I very rarely stick to like a 3 meal a day sort of plan. I go anywhere from over 3, sometimes I'll have like 4 plus or 3 with snacks, to like down to 1. Sometimes I'll only just eat like a really big lunch or a really big dinner. I like forget about the other meals or just not be hungry for them. So it worked really well because I was just able to split it into 4 servings of Soylent, or almost 4 equivalent servings of Soylent. And kind of drink them whenever. The first day I did drink them straight up whenever. As I said, I was basing it with water, and didn't work quite as well as I was done around 4 or 5. But every day since then, with a bit of spacing it out, trying to do one serving of Soylent, which is about a fourth of the days of Soylent, and then I do like a big bottle of water, or a large cup of water in between. That way I stay hydrated and the Soylent lasts longer throughout the day. I actually came across the problem yesterday and Saturday, where I was coming up on them when I wanted to go to sleep, and I still had a serving or 2 left. I think it was probably just a serving, or where the day I filmed me mixing it for the second time in the blender, I'd forgotten that I still had a fourth of Soylent left. So there's been numerous points I ran up at the end of the day, still had some Soylent left over and just had to drink it, which isn't too bad. Something a bit gassier than I would have preferred when I was sleeping. Hasn't really kept me awake at all, but falling asleep, I felt some, like, my stomach was kind of uneasy at times. I can't really think of anything else. I would say that I think the plain chocolate Hershey syrup may have been a bit better than the plain peanut butter, although I really like this peanut butter chocolate, but it's kind of hard to judge based on the chunks. Again, I don't know what caused it. I doubt it was anything inherent in the recipe as far as me screwing up somewhere along the way. I have a hard time not recommending this. Maybe a bit more variety might help with boredom, although again, after day 3 or 4, maybe 4 or 5, a lot of the boredom had worn away. I was kind of getting used to it, and I stopped having the almost overwhelming food cravings that I was having on day 1 through 4-ish. It was nice though, not having to prepare food, not having to plan for food, and just having this 1 cup of thing for a quote-unquote meal. And it takes obviously less time to prepare, less time to drink, because I finish a cup in like 5 or 10 minutes, which is the shorter end of how long it takes me to eat a meal. And because I don't have any sort of stuff where I eat out at or where I eat with my coworkers or family a lot, it didn't really impede a lot of that. When the times I do traditionally eat with my family, I was able just to sit with them at the table, drink some water or drink some Soylent if I had some. I've been meaning to drink it. So it hasn't really impacted me. I'd say a lot of that comes from me, again, being slightly outside of the usual as far as food consumption and social habits. It's a really interesting experiment. I would recommend it to anybody who was interested in it. I do think it helps to kind of go in knowing what you're getting into. I went in under the idea that I don't much care for a lot of food. I probably wouldn't miss it if I didn't eat food for a week. But as I stated in the video numerous times, no matter how much you think you're not going to miss food, or no matter how prepared you think you are for not eating food for a week, it's really tough at first. Even just the idea of food was enough to drive me a little mad for several days. But if you're going to try it, go ahead. It's relatively cheap, not overly cheap, but cheaper than eating out for every meal. I think it's $85 for a week's supply in a starter kit, which included this big bottle, a measuring cup, which I never used for preparing smaller individual meal sizes, and then obviously the powder and the oil. That's it. That's the end of my Soylent. It's the end of my week. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. Or at the very least, learn something about yourselves and/or me. Thanks for the feedback.